A Fox News alert, former President Trump is facing 4 new charges in the special counsel investigation into his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He's now under investigation in 4 criminal cases. 3 of them have so far brought a total of 78 charges. That's centuries of prison time combined if he's convicted.
With that, cue the media.
They're saying it's persecution and that it is reminiscent of Nazi Germany in the 1930s in the former Soviet Union. Just giving you kind of a window into the argument that they're going to be making, tying this all back to the campaign.
Comparing this to Nazi Germany is beyond the pale in terms of offensiveness and ignorance.
Let me stop you there, because if he's saying that there was fraud, the First Amendment doesn't allow the President of the United States to go and claim there was fraud when he was told there was not fraud.
This indictment makes it not just about concepts in political science and different forms of government. It's about whether or not you want things in this country to be decided by people fighting it out in the street.
I feel kind of sick. If you had told me it would take 2.5 years before we as a country said that's not good.
Joe Concha is a Fox News contributor and columnist for The Messenger, and he joins us now. Joe, this indictment was 45 pages. Listening to those comments from the mainstream media sounds like just a continuation of the indictment. That sounded like pages 46, 47, and 48.
I just love how CNN, MSNBC feel like they need Brady Bunch panels in terms of 6 people on set all agreeing with each other, saying the same thing, and not one person can just give another argument in this regard. Every American here, Todd, Carly, should be disturbed by what we're witnessing with the indictments of the leading candidate for the Republican nomination in the former president in Donald Trump. And you hear from objective legal experts like Jonathan Turley or Andrew McCarthy, who are saying these latest rounds of indictments around January 6th are limp. They appear to be politically driven and ultimately may not stand up in court. The whole goal, it appears, is to keep Donald Trump in court and in the headlines in this regard through the 2024 election. And by doing so, this takes the scrutiny, it takes the heat off the current president and Joe Biden in terms of his handling of the economy or crime or the border, education, foreign policy. That goes off the headlines. And therefore, it becomes a referendum on the man you're seeing on the screen, Donald Trump, and not the current president and his performance and his own scandals in Joe Biden. This is all by design, guys, from my perspective.
Well, speaking of reaction, the former president also reacting on Truth Social. He posted a Truth Social post, not a tweet, saying, why didn't they bring this ridiculous case 2.5 years ago? They wanted it right in the middle of my campaign. That's why. And his lawyer is also saying that he's going to show up to the arraignment tomorrow, either in person or virtually. It might work to his benefit to show up in person, because then all the cameras, all the spotlight will be on him once again, the way it was when he was arraigned in Florida.
And imagine, Carly, if you're Ron DeSantis or you're Tim Scott or you're Nikki Haley or you're Mike Pence, you can't get on television for more than 5 seconds before Donald Trump becomes the story. And you're right. If he shows up in person, that's what's going to happen here. So it seems like, and isn't this amazing, that the more indictments that are leveled against Donald Trump, the more his poll numbers go up. It's just incredible.
Joe, you are a media guy. First Amendment, obviously, a huge part of the media. I want to go to something Caitlin Collins said in that soundbite, because it's completely incorrect. She says the First Amendment doesn't allow the president of the United States to go and claim there was fraud when he was told there was not fraud. She's completely wrong about that, because if he believed there was fraud and said so, that's what this whole case comes down to. Her or his belief, what was in his state of mind. So, Joe, what does this indictment say and the media coverage about this notion from the left, from the media, from the D.C. swamp about how far First Amendment protections go and what they ultimately want to do to that First Amendment protection?
Todd, it's purposely misleading by amateur hour hosts like Caitlin Collins and everybody else you see on those other networks. They want Donald Trump to be in the news because he's the only one that's keeping those networks afloat in terms of ratings in any perspective. He goes away, the ratings go away because the talent isn't there. And ultimately, and we saw a New York Times Siena College poll that just came out, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, tied right now. And this election ultimately comes down to Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Everything else doesn't matter.
Well,
and it's a few thousand votes there.
Usually August is a slow news month. Not this August. August 1, we got a new indictment. Joe, got to leave it there. Fox and Friends starts right now.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.